My cat Freddie loves to be brushed and cuddled. But stirring up his cat allergens meant sneezing and itchy eyes. Then I found Purina One Live Clear. It's cat food that reduced the major allergen and my suffering in as little as 21 days. Now, we feel closer than ever. If you have issues with cat allergens, you really need to try Purina One Live Clear.
Try new Purina One Live Clear today. Purina One, a difference from day one.
This episode is sponsored by Friskies, who would like to tell your cats hi. Now, if that didn't get your cat's attention, there is one thing that always does the trick. Just pour some Friskies crunchy food in the bowl and you'll hear those paws come running. Works every time. With so many Friskies choices, you can always bring your cats running from their secret napping spots. There's always more to explore. See for yourself at friskies.com or visit your local store.
Mint is still $15 a month for premium wireless. And if you haven't made the switch yet, here are 15 reasons why you should. 1, it's $15 a month. 2, seriously, it's $15 a month. 3, no big contrast. 4, I use it. 5, my mom uses it. Are you playing me off? That's what's happening, right? Okay, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, $15 per month equivalent required. New customer offer first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
This episode is brought to you by Cadillac. Cadillac certified service technicians are factory trained to fit your vehicle with the tires specifically developed for it. And with our tire price match guarantee, you get the best fit for the best deal. Let us do the work. Available on select eligible tire brands at participating dealers only. Offer ends 12/31/2025. Terms apply. See dealer for complete details. Visit Cadillac.com/service to learn more.
Jif peanut butter. It's that jiffing good, it doesn't really need advertising. So instead, enjoy the calming sounds of the ocean. Jif. Ooh, it's that jiffing good. Get your Jif at Jif.com.
Hello, and welcome to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. We are so excited to bring you this show.
Our podcast is all about unraveling all of your favorite mysteries from the Assassin's Creed games. Each episode, we'll be talking about a different topic in the Assassin's Creed universe. From Pieces of Eden, solar flares, and the Isu, to the Hidden Ones, the Order of Ancients, and of course, the Animus, we will seek to uncover it all.
So join us, and maybe even take a leap of faith.
Hello and welcome to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. My name is Shelby. You also probably know me as She-Cup, and I'm your host, one of your hosts for this podcast. And I'm joined here with my co-host.
Hey, I am Austin, also known as Teacup.
That's right, you are. So what are we talking about today, Austin?
Well, I'll give you one guess. We talked about the Assassins last week.
I couldn't tell you.
We are talking about the Templars this week, which are not as interesting.
Yeah, no, they're kind of boring.
Yes. But they do have some fun stuff. So we're going to talk a little bit about both. I'm not going to do an everything you need to know about the Order of Ancients because they are, in fact, the same order. So we're going to talk about the Order of Ancients and the Templar Order today. So those of you who are big Order of Ancients stans, where they're not going to get their own episode. They're just getting their little mention in the philosophy today. But are you ready?
Let's do it.
Okay, so the Templars officially begin, as I said, with the Order of Ancients. However, that's like their official, historical beginning. But however, some Templar historians, some in their own mythology, trace their origins to Cain killing Abel over an apple of Eden. Now, we've covered that before on our first episode about the Templars, but I think it's important to note in regards to Templar ideology and mythology that they view their own origin as starting of people fighting over a piece of Eden or an apple of Eden. Like, that's where their group starts. And so they say that the followers of Cain were all branded with the red cross, which was the mark of Cain. And so then the Templar cross, and that is the beginning of the Templar Order. Now, it is noted that this ideology was introduced to us in game before we knew who the Order of Ancients were. So it might be a retcon, it might be something kind of changing, or just an idea that, like, this is a Templar myth, and it might be true or it might be not.
I like looking at it as, like, this is a creation myth for our order.
Mm-hmm. So, but as an organization, if we trace them back through the Order of Ancients, the Templars are much older than the Assassins, like by almost 1,000 years older. And so, as the earliest existence of the Hidden Ones is in 400 BCE, with Darius and the Persian Empire and his assassination of Xerxes I. But the Order of Ancient traces their line all the way back to 1334 BCE. So that is almost 1,000 years, just like almost 66 years short of 1,000 years. Now, there have always been resistance movements to the Order of Ancients, but they are not organized really into a set group until Bayek and Aya kind of move to the Hidden Ones. But it is to note that we do know that this, with Darius and the Hidden Ones, is a point to trace that because Aya is a descendant of Darius through Cassandra and all of that stuff. So I think that's important. So I think we need to talk about the Order of Ancients because they are their beginning. We got to talk about a little about what they believe, who they are, how do they differ from the Templars, all kinds of stuff like that. The Order of Ancients foundations heavily rely on a supremacist view of the Isu, meaning that they believe that the Isu are the greatest thing since sliced bread, even though the Isu existed long before sliced bread. And their strong desire to shepherd humanity into recreating Isu societies on Earth by leading humanity using the wisest and strongest members of society. I have two things with this point. One, 9 times out of 10, the people that they're choosing are not the wisest and strongest of society. They're just the most morally depraved people of society. Second, you know the Isu enslaved humanity. Like, what is this obsession with, like, worshiping them? Like, they would not think highly of you. Why are you thinking so highly of them?
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. And I also just, like, wonder, like, what is your definition of, like, the best, the wisest, the strongest? Because, and why is it automatically the Isu? I don't know. I just feel like there are a lot of assumptions built into this ideology. And, like, also, you know, we got to talk about, in history, we often say the victor writes the history book. You know, like, the victor is the one that gets to tell everybody, well, this is how it happened, regardless of if that's true or not. And so for me, it's kind of like, if you are a human being looking back on time, the Isu were the victors for a long, long time. And so it's just kind of like, just because they won or just because they were dominant doesn't mean they are actually the wisest and the strongest. It feels like almost like they're not rewriting history, but saying, like, revisionist history of, like, well, we're just going to ignore all these other peoples, these other groups, and we're just going to prioritize the Isu because that's what we've decided.
Right. And it's almost like idealizing. There's this little bit of like sometimes, like a lot of times with generations that are older than us, and even like our generation, of like when we look back at like the 90s and the early 2000s, like it's kind of this rose colored glasses kind of thing going on of like, and I'm thinking a lot of times when people talk about like, oh, those were the days in the 50s and 60s, and like ignoring the fact that black people and other people of color had to use a different restroom than the rest of white people. Like,
or women couldn't get, bank accounts in their own name. Like, yeah, okay,
right.
Good for who?
Exactly. And I think that's kind of a situation that we have here is they're like looking back and they've seen all of this technology, but they have none of the context of like how actually terrible it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a really apt description because for me, the Templars and the Order of Ancients, I if I could describe them with one word or one phrase, it would definitely be out of touch.
Yes. But also in touch. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. So the Order of Ancients typically uses cryptonyms or like fake identities, like code names, to hide behind their identities behind leaders, which is the practice that the Templars don't seem to adapt. The only Templar we know going by like an alias is Rodrigo Borgia, who is referred to as the Spaniard sometimes. But in all, it's the Order of Ancients who has like the needle, like they have these code names that they talk about. But the Templars don't do that. They just are like, yeah, I'm Rodrigo Borgia, I'm Pope, and I'm Grand Master of the Templar Order. What's up?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the primary aim of the Order of the Ancients is to bring back a strong dynastic power equal to that of previous dynasties. So they want to bring back basically like these rules of like huge empires that span multiple countries. Like the world was at its best when Persia ruled the world, is the Order of Ancients idea. So yes, the Order believes in like a trinity of some sort, which is like a focus of their veneration and worship. Now, if you go back and listen to our Isu episodes, you know that this is an actual like positions that different Isu held. We know Juno held one of these and Jupiter held the other, and that Minerva was this other one, but that's the father of understanding, the mother of wisdom, and the sacred voice. And this kind of like flows in this very like Trinity, Father, Son, Holy Spirit kind of way. And this is an interesting fact that I want to talk about, while the Order held the Isu in high regard, they held a low view of those who descended from Isu human relationships. So the ones who like maintained Isu DNA, they were terrible. They called them the tainted ones.
Is this Dragon Age?
Yeah, I know. But we learned this in the Legacy of the First Blade DLC in Odyssey. But they believe that the tainted ones cause chaos in the world and bring about grand destruction. When in reality, it's interesting that they carry this ideology because their tainted ones are the ones who freed humanity from the Isu's oppression. In that like Eve is an Isu hybrid. Like these are the things that do this. And this is what I found interesting the most. The Order of Ancients, where we get like in regards to like Fulke, and Alfred, and like they hinted this, they know about Juno's imprisonment and about the existence of sages. Though it seems that prior to really Assassin's Creed Black Flag, the Templar Order doesn't seem to know about sages, and they don't seem to learn about Juno's imprisonment until 2012. So that this might be an oversight on Ubisoft's part, or maybe when we know that Alfred purges and changes the Order into what will become the Templar, and he kind of purges this idea of Isu worship from the Order because Alfred is a devout Christian. And I think that's needs to be said, that he will not take any of this, like what he considers paganism, into his order. He hates it. And so he kind of gets rid of it and says, no, there's only one God. Like, these others are false gods and we don't need to honor them. We need to focus on bringing about control and order because God is calling us to do control and order.
Yeah, and I do think that like Alfred's reign as King of England is really kind of like one of the beginnings of the Order of Ancients and Templars really changing from the like Isu focused historic beliefs into being more ingratiated into Christianity, which I'm sure you're going to talk about.
Yes. And so like the Templars are super focused on Christianity, and like they use Christianity, specifically like Roman Catholic Christianity, the most, because I mean, a lot of this game takes place in Europe, and the Catholic Church is a very powerful entity in Europe, and it still kind of is to this day. Not as much as it was back then, but the Pope and all these entities still hold large amounts of power. And so, like, there are interesting things that exist in kind of a Christian perspective, or even like a Jewish perspective as well, that I just want to like hit on a little bit. So the Trinity itself, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, is very similar to the kind of Father of Understanding, Mother of Wisdom, Sacred Voice. Now, I'm not saying that the Templars kind of create this, because this existed way before even Alfred kind of was king. The doctrine of the Trinity is one of the first things that early Christianity really affirms and puts together. But I could see the Templars doing this and being like, oh, this is something we can easily adapt our beliefs and come in and do this. I'm also interested in like the concept of the Nephilim, which are a race of giants that are said to be the offspring of human and angels. The kind of view that the Order of Ancients takes on the Tainted Ones is very similar to the Bible and what it says about the Nephilim. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that? Do you think that's off base? Or
I am going to be really honest with you. I know that I have an MDiv, but I don't really remember anything about what the Nephilim are. So you're going to have to give me a refresh.
So Adam and Eve are banished from the garden. The world comes about. It becomes populated. Angels and humans have relations. And they birth a race of giants called the Nephilim, which are half-breeds between angels and humans. And God basically commands that they all be killed. And it's believed that they're all destroyed in the flood,
along with the rest of humanity.
Yes.
So I guess in this, are you arguing that the Isu are the Nephilim, or that...
I'm arguing the Tainted Ones are the Nephilim.
Okay, gotcha. I definitely see that argument. I don't think it's off base, because they are hybrids, you know? So I think it's fair. There is, you know, the whole question of, well, if the flood happened, wouldn't they have been wiped out? But, you know, you can just easily get around that with saying, oh, well, the flood didn't really happen, or it didn't happen in the way the Bible says it does, whatever. But no, I definitely think it's an interesting theory, and one that I'm not sure Ubisoft would pursue, but it makes sense with both the Christian and Assassin's Creed lore to me.
Yeah, I totally agree. And also in the Order of Ancients ideology and philosophy is this idea that they are returning to the way things are supposed to be, which, you know, we have to argue the Bible kind of paints that picture. The world starts out one way in the creation myths in the Bible. Humanity or whatever causes that to mess it up, and they get separated from all of that. And the rest of the Bible is an effort to return humanity into right relationship with God. Now, that's a more positive spin on what we know the Order of Ancients are trying to do with that. But there's that similar idea of like, long ago, things were okay, or things were where they were supposed to be, and we need to return to that. So I think we see some like influences here that I think Ubisoft is putting into the Order of Ancients to kind of connect like, oh, look at this conspiracy. Like, this is a Christian idea. This order is, permeating and in everything. It creates the conspiracy up there. I think that they're trying to do.
And I honestly think that this can apply to the Assassins as well, because like the Assassins want us to go back to a time before the Templars existed and controlled everything. So I very much see this as both of them are taking kind of inspiration from this line of thinking. Yes.
Alternatively, not all Order of Ancient members take a positive view of Christianity. Folke in Valhalla, who is to this day probably one of the most hated characters in all of Assassin's Creed, she seems to argue that Christian texts such as the Bible and the Gospels are anti-Isu propaganda.
Yeah. I remember being really confused by her whenever I played Valhalla.
Yeah, so she specifically cites this as specifically the Nicene Creed, which is when I was talking about Christianity establishing the doctrine of the Trinity. That's where they do that. The Nicene Creed. And then the suppression of Gnostic text or Gnostic Gospels. This is interesting because Folke is really obsessed with the tainted ones and like the idea that like gods walk among us, and like really Isu sages is what she is obsessed with. She talks a lot about like the secret knowledge and everything like that, which is a Gnosticism really emphasizes that there is some secret knowledge that some people have that the rest of humanity doesn't have. And so she views the idea that like Christianity suppressed that as like Christianity takes an anti-Isu. Christianity doesn't want you to know that the Isu existed.
Well, I mean, I think in this universe is probably true because it goes against the entire doctrine. But yeah, she very much confuses me because like I never am sure if she wants to like honor the sages and the gods that walk among us or kill them or both.
Well, she's not really sane.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I think now would be a good time for our mid-break unless you have any last thoughts before we head there.
No, let's do it.
USAA knows dynamic duos can save the day, like superheroes and sidekicks, or auto and home insurance. With USAA, you can bundle your auto and home and save up to 10%. Visit USAA.com/bundle.
Bundle savings are off total premium, not available in all states or in all situations. To qualify, auto policy must be active prior to property policy issue. Subject to change. Restrictions apply. Membership eligibility and product restrictions apply and are subject to change. USAA means United Services Automobile Association and its affiliates, San Antonio, Texas.
Hey, it's Paris. You know I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and Auto Camp, I just slept under them. Picture me, serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Ma cos'è? Shoot! Shoot a flying demon!
I'm sure you can put this to better use than I can.
Oh, what's this, Greenie? Assassin Christmas.
I needs to be oiled before I goes to the games.
Well, I would have been happy to assist if you were in any state to compete.
He likes to be royal.
Well, that's obvious.
Welcome to the middle of the show. This is where we talk about all the things that have to do with the lore cast and not the lore of Assassin's Creed. And first and foremost, I have to thank all of our lovely patrons. Thank you all so much for supporting us. Supporting us financially via Patreon is the number one way to support us and help us keep making the show. And so I do have one patron to thank specifically today, which is Voss. He is a mentor tier assassin, which means he gets shouted out every episode of the show. You can join the Patreon at various tiers, get merch, come on the show, get your name read out, all kinds of stuff. Now, the next thing I have to tell you about is our merch shop that we just launched. We've got all kinds of awesome t-shirts and hats and mugs and fun stuff for you to buy if you want to support the Lorecast and just get some awesome merch. You can find that at our website, cupspodcasting.com. There is a link at the very tippy top, and you can just click on it. And then the next best way to support us is to leave us a rating or a review or a comment on Spotify. Wherever you leave us a rating or review, we'll try to read it out. If it's 5 stars, kind words, appropriate. We do still have a little bit of a backlog, so we're almost done working our way through that. But definitely leave us a rating or a review, and we will get to it. And this one today comes from Reaper7734, who commented on the best Thanksgiving episode. And they said, I loved every minute of this. Put it on while I've been playing Mirage. Yes, thank you so much for leaving that awesome review. And now the last thing that I have to shout out is about our Discord server. We have a great server with lots and lots of people, and we talk about pretty much any game you can imagine. And it's just a great place to hang out and meet some new friends that probably like some of the same video games you do. So come on over and join us and get all your Assassin's Creed questions and thoughts answered. And Austin, I think that's all I have for the middle of the show. So let's get back into it.
All right.
With a major selection of the looks your kiddos love, starting at just $4 in the Walmart app, a new school year means a stylish new them. Who knew? Find skater skirts and Crocs that say, I'm casual but cool. Sparkly sneakers that say, it's my classroom, you're just learning in it. And preppy polos that say, I'm the teacher's pet, even if they're mommy's menace at home. Find their favorite styles starting at just $4 in the app. The Walmart you thought you knew is now new.
Want to live better?
We've got a lot of work to do.
Join Chris Hemsworth in National Geographic's new Disney Plus original series, Limitless. Live better now.
I'm diving headfirst into cutting-edge science to uncover 3 powerful secrets to living better right now. The growth that occurs through any challenging experience is really what we seek.
Chris Hemsworth stars in Limitless. Live better now. Now streaming on Disney Plus and Hulu.
It's showtime.
This episode is brought to you by FX's Alien Earth, the official podcast. Each week, host Adam Rogers is joined by guests, including the show's creator, cast, and crew, in this exclusive companion podcast. They will explore story elements, deep dive into character motivations, and offer an episode-by-episode behind-the-scenes breakdown of each terrifying chapter in this new series. Search FX's Alien Earth wherever you listen to podcasts.
Malaka. A party? I wasn't invited.
Neither were the horses.
I'm sure she just misplaced my invitation. Stuck.
See if you can find something to pry it open. Honor? What are you up to? No, don't do that. There's no way of knowing what's on the other side.
So we're going to go over now. We're going to get to the Templars. So at the end of Valhalla, Alfred makes this pledge where he redefines the Templar Order, rejecting kind of the Isu paganism for his Christianity, and the Templars reform. So I'm going to talk about who they are now, and this is like where they are today. Like, this is what they believe into the modern day. So there is the Templar Pledge. They don't have a creed. They don't have any of these like mantras, but they do have a pledge that they ask their members to take, which is uphold the principles of our order and all for which we stand. Never share our secrets nor divulge the true nature of our work. Do so until death, whatever the cost. Very extreme. Very, once you're in, you're in. There is no leaving the Templar Order and surviving. So I've got like broken up different points of the Templar ideology, and then I have some quotes interspoken there from different Templars, and then I want to talk about how I think the Assassins and versus Templars is just a rehashing of a 2,000-year-old debate within Christianity. We'll get there. So the first thing I want to talk about is the Templar Order's view of humanity. And so the Templars have a very low view of humanity. They do not believe that humanity is good in any sense of the matter. And while the Assassins will argue that humanity should be free and able to make their own choice, and that given that freedom, humanity will make the right choice for its own well-being, the Templars believe that humanity is corrupted beyond anything. Any redemption is irredeemable, and without proper guidance from those who know, will ensure their own destruction. Now, before I get into these quotes, this should sound familiar if you have recently listened to our Juno episode, because this is the argument that Minerva and Juno have. In that Juno says, left alone, humanity will destroy themselves. And Minerva is like, they deserve the chance to try.
Yeah, I do remember us talking about that. But before we keep going, I do have a quick clarifying question. So what is the moment where the Order of Ancients turns into the Templars?
The founding of the Knights Templar.
In the 1200s?
Mm-hmm. That's when the name change happens.
So shortly thereafter, Alfred.
Mm-hmm. So I think Haytham Kenway really kind of has some of the best quotes that sum up the Templar view of humanity. And so even though I think Haytham is a bad Templar, he does understand this aspect of the Templar philosophy. And so in a conversation with Connor, he says, even when your kind appears to triumph, still we, the Templars, rise again. And do you know why? It is because the order is born of a realization. We require no creed, no indoctrination by desperate old men. All we need is that the world be as it is. And this is why the Templars will never be destroyed. And then he says, we're cruel and desperate creatures, set in our conquering ways. The Saxons and the Franks, the Ottomans and the Savids. I could go on for hours. The whole of human history is but a series of conflicts and subjugation, a desire for more and more and more. He's not wrong.
No, he's not wrong. And I very much find this line of thinking tempting for me. I agree with it. He's right. All the Templars need to get people on their side is to tell people to look at the world. Absolutely correct. It's the same way that people throughout the thousands of years of Christian history have gotten people to believe in total depravity and, that there's nothing good in humanity. Absolutely. We only have to look at the world. But the issue is that's not where Templar philosophy ends. Templar philosophy says, because of that, us select few should dominate and subjugate these inferior peoples. And that's a step too far for me. I'm with you. I'm rocking with you on this first point of, all we have to do is look at how terrible the world is. You're right. But they take it too far.
Yeah. The next point is how the Templars view the truth, because actually the Assassins and Templars are on the same page when it comes to this. Both of them reject the idea of an objective truth. That objective truth is just a man-made concept, but rather, unlike the assassins who kind of take a liberating stance of this, they notice like truth is subjective, and so we're not limited by human concepts. We can do what's right, and everything is permitted to do what's right. So there's like this freedom in this realization that there is no objective truth. That's where the assassins take this out. The Templars kind of go the other way and believe that when there is a lack of objective truth, it is the Templars' responsibility to create objective truth to keep the order of the world. Altair in his journals refers to this as the illusion the Templars cast.
Okay. Sure, I hear that. But also, isn't it kind of like a misnomer then? Because objective truth, it can't be created or destroyed. It just is objective truth. So, a little bit of a catch-22 there, huh, Templars?
It's more of a thing of they assert an objective truth that they get the masses behind in order to control them.
So then they are different from the Templars, and that they don't believe that there is any truth, but they pretend that there is.
Well, they both have a realization that there is no objective truth. The Templars themselves know that. The assassins believe in letting everyone know that so that there can be a freedom in that. The Templars believe in hiding that and making sure that they can use objective truth to control the masses, which is what Altair says in like the illusion the Templars cast. Unlike the Order of Ancients, which this is really the biggest difference between the Templars and the Order of Ancients, is that the Templars do not worship or venerate the Isu. They acknowledge that they existed, but they just view them as an advanced civilization. There's no like divine or godlike mystery to the Isu. They were just people in the minds of the Templars, and they are a means that they can use to bring about the control, the desire. They have no desire for the resurrection of the Isu or a return to that kind of ideology or that world, but they will use the technology to control mankind, whereas the assassins are like, screw the Isu, destroy everything that they have. We don't need this falling into anyone's hands. Mankind can't be free as long as the pieces of Eden exist.
It's so interesting to me because it really is so different from the origins of the Order of Ancients. Like, it is a completely different philosophy.
Yes. I think it's important to note that both the Assassins and Templars view themselves as guardians of humanity, just in different kind of modes. While the Assassins believe that they are guardians of humanity's well-being and freedoms, the Templars would argue that they are the guardians of humanity's survival, which is kind of like the Assassins and Templars, kind of the game and the lore itself is kind of painting them as two sides of the same coin almost. But like, it's this point of like, yes, there are similarities, but it is the nuance that makes them so vastly different. The ends to their means really changes the orders entirely. So with that, another idea is any means necessary. The ends justify the means with the Templars. And I wouldn't say that is true with the Assassins. You could argue that is true with the Assassins, but I think the Assassins would argue that how you win is just as important on whether or not you win, whereas the Templars, it doesn't matter as long as you win. They believe that any means necessary to accomplish their goals, whether their personal beliefs even align with what they're using to do so. There's a quote from Rodrigo Borgia who says, "I became Pope because it gave me access. It gave me power. Do you think I believe a single goddamned word of that ridiculous book? It's all lies and superstitions, just like every other religious tract written over the past 10,000 years." From the Pope. The last kind of thing that I have for the Templars, and then some quotes, is that the Templars desire peace. If you ask them, that is their main goal, is a peaceful world. They just believe that peace is achieved through control, whereas Assassins believe that peace is achieved through freedom And I've got some quotes that I'm going to read, and then we can kind of move to the end of our discussion. So the first one, it comes from Prince Ahmet, which is one of the villains of Assassin's Creed Revelation. I tired of all these pointless blood feuds that pit father against son, brother against brother. To achieve true peace, mankind must think and move as one body with one mastermind. Again, we see this ideology that with mankind is going to destroy itself, it needs the right person to force people to move as one body. And this one comes from Xiaozhen and her game in Assassin's Creed Chronicles China. It says, China is just a piece of the prize. We will rule the world, and the box you so kindly presented us will be yet another tool to achieve a time of peace. Again, control equals peace. No longer would we tolerate savagery and ignorance. No longer would we stand idly by while men of science were made to suffer. No longer would we let mankind be led by selfish ambitions. The mistakes of the past, our mistakes, had to be rectified. Society's leaders and thinkers had to be influenced, not controlled. This is an excerpt from Abstergo's internal files regarding the Enlightenment. And this is an idea of like a change in the Templars' method of peace, where they kind of move about like they don't have to be the ones who are leading it, but they need to be the ones who are influencing and ultimately controlling the people who are leading the world. And this is from Governor Torres, who is the main villain of Assassin's Creed Black Flag. For 2 decades now, I have endeavored to locate this observatory, a place rumored to contain a tool of incredible utility and power. With this device, there would be no secrets among men, no lies, no trickery, only justice, pure justice. Again, control is peace. And then Connor and Haytham have an argument. Connor says, freedom is peace. Haytham, oh no, it's an invitation to chaos. Only look at this little revolution you and your friends have started. I've stood before the Continental Congress and listened to them stamp and shout, all in the name of liberty. But it is just noise. I think Haytham makes a compelling argument for the Templars wanting the idea of peace, more so than the rest.
I do too. However, I think that Haytham is an outlier amongst the Templars. I don't think he is representative of the majority of Templars. I think the majority of the Templars are more of the Torres. There's going to be no secrets, no lies, just justice, and I'm going to dispense it kind of situation.
Right. And I think one thing that sticks out to me is the quote from the Abstergo's internal files that says, no longer would we let mankind be led by selfish ambitions when not every Templar is motivated and operates on selfish ambitions.
Yeah. I don't know how they can even claim that. Like, how can you say that without laughing?
I mean, look at the difference. Like, I think you're right. Like, Haytham Kenway is an outlier, and I would lump Shay Cormac in there with him as well. I know you haven't played Rogue, so that's not something you would have known. But, like, look at the difference between Haytham and Charles Lee.
Yeah.
Like, Charles Lee is all ambition. He is all just everything about bringing himself further glory. I think Haytham is the only altruistic Templar we ever meet.
And I mean, I do have to wonder, this is getting in the weeds a little bit, but I do have to wonder, like, would Haytham be as altruistic as he is if it wasn't for Connor? Maybe, maybe not.
I don't know. I think that Haytham can hate Edward as much as he wants. He can deny that he's anything like his father, but it is really, he is raised by Edward for at least 10 years. And it's hard to shake those morals and values that you learned at that age. no matter what you've been exposed to. They always influence you away. So I think, and similar to Shay Cormac, their assassin training and assassin upbringing influences how they view the Templars.
I think that's probably fair. Yeah, I think that's fair. Very fair.
Any other thoughts about these quotes or any Templar ideology things?
It's just, I guess the final thought that I have is that when I hear you talk about this and when I read through the notes you have, and when I even play the games, like, it just feels delusional. Like, how anyone can sit there and look at anything any of the Templars have ever done and say, oh, this is not selfish ambition. Or, we don't want to control you. We just want to influence you. Like, no, all you do is control. All you do is selfishness. So it's just funny to me that, like, these quotes, they say one thing and then the Templars' actions prove a different thing, an entirely different thing. And it's just kind of like, you don't even know who you are. How can you proclaim that you know what's best for the world?
Mm-hmm. And like, I think like the tension that comes in with the assassins with them is, I don't think the assassins are going to ever sit there and argue against that the world is corrupt and the world is messy and terrible things happen. I don't think any of them are going to sit there and say that. But I think that one of the things that the assassins really emphasize is that they point to the Templars and say, like, if you really wanted peace, you would stop trying to control it, because it's your means of trying to control humanity that leads them to rebel, that leads them to fight against it, and leads to all this conflict. If you could relinquish control, we might find peace, which is the whole assassin's point, is that we have to give humanity the option to choose peace and choose and make the right choice. It's a dangerous gamble. And I think that ropes into, like, the Templars have a very insecure view of the world. They don't think the world's going to be okay, whereas the assassins have a little more faith in the resiliency of humanity and the resiliency of the world in general.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that makes sense with a higher anthropology, because the assassins have more faith in humanity.
I just want to take a moment to transition to talk about this, that, like, this ideology that the assassins and Templars are dealing with, religious people have been dealing with forever. This question. And I want to talk about, I wrote in the notes that Templars versus assassins, or is it really just Arminianism versus Calvinism?
I hear you. But do you really think Calvinists are as bad as the Templars?
No, I do not. But I do think that their view of humanity is probably similar.
Yeah, I mean, Calvinism is traditionally a very low anthropology, which means that they believe that humans are nothing. Humans are capable of nothing, like no goodness outside of God. Whereas Arminians would believe that humanity is capable of good. It's God that empowers that good, but we're capable of it on our own, basically. And I do think that there are echoes of the same argument of the Templars and the Assassins in both of those. But I definitely don't think it's a one-to-one comparison.
But I think, like, what's central around the argument of the Assassins versus Templar is this argument of, is humanity inherently good, or are they inherently evil? What is the take you're going to do that? Because if you take a view that humanity is inherently evil and will always, without guidance, choose to do evil things, then the assassin's way of life is, you can't have that, because it will, as the Templars say, will destroy the world.
But I don't necessarily think we can say which one it is, at least for the world of Assassin's Creed, because this argument is still ongoing.
Right. And it's another thing, like the assassins would come back and argue, and like there's a quote of like, can a person truly be good if they never were given the opportunity to be evil? Like, can someone choose good if evil was never really an option? Which in the Templars' view, evil would not be an option because they would control what people do.
Very fair points.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, as always, Austin, thank you for doing the research and bringing the interesting real world comparisons, as you always do so well. And I am very interested to see what next week's topic will be. But until then, thank you for doing the research and thank you all for listening. We will see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. You can find us on Twitter at AC Lorecast.
If you have any lore questions or topics to unpack, join our Cups Podcasting and More Discord server. It's the best place on the internet. You can also support us financially through our Patreon. Find us on patreon.com/Assassin's Creed Lorecast. The Assassin's Creed Lorecast is part of the Robots Radio Network. For more information about the Robots Radio Network, join the Discord server via the link in our episode's description.
If you enjoyed the show or learned something new today, please subscribe, leave us a review, and join the Patreon. And if you enjoyed our intro and outro music, make sure you give a big thank you to Pipeman Studios. Thank you, Pipeman. Thanks again for listening to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. And always remember, Assassins, stay in the shadows to serve the light.
Are you a fan of Elden Ring? Are you confused about the lore as pretty much everyone else? We've got you covered. Check out the Elden Archives, a lore podcast that helps to explain every little confusing detail about the lands between. Things like what exactly happened on the Night of the Black Knives, or what we really know about characters like Mikola. Just like the show you're listening to now, we're on the Robots Radio Network, so you know it'll be good. Wondering how to find the show? Easy. Either go to robotsradio.net or search Elden Archives on whatever podcatcher you're using right now. Bookmark the show for later, and we'll see you in the lands between. Again, that's the Elden Archives, a FromSoft Lorecast available everywhere.